the story time of how I literally, and I mean literally, ran over a homeless person in a wheelchair with my truck. What is going on, JB family? If you're new here, my name is Jamie, and before we even get into what we're doing today, please make sure to smash that subscribe button, like up this video, comment on this video, because all that pushes out this video for more people to see this wonderful content. But today, what are we doing today? I'm gonna do another story time video today. Now this story time video, this is two years later at this point, 3 years later, 2.5 to 3 years later, okay, as of today. Well, not as of today, but like, you know what I mean. So ignore the traffic in the background. The lighting up here is just way better than it was downstairs in the studio, so I'm just filming up here today. But anyway, I'm about to tell you the story time of how I literally, and I mean literally, ran over a homeless person in a wheelchair with my truck. Okay, so everything is good now, settled, whatever. So like, I can tell this story and we can all laugh about it together, because why not? So it wasn't really my proudest moment, but whatever. So let's go ahead and get into it. But it all started, I was detailing at the time that this occurred, and we were on our way to a job. And where the shop was at, you pull in between, it's like an alley, and you pull between these two buildings, and then you to go out to the road, okay? Because the garage and stuff was out back instead of facing the road, so you had to pull down the alley, whatever. So I'm going to, I was going and pulling up this alley. Mind you, these buildings go all the way to the sidewalk, and the sidewalk is literally just right there off the road. There is not a lot of curb, so you can't really pull up and see, and there's always a lot of cars parked there. You just can't ever see anything, so it's just kind of like a guessing game. You're just hoping for the best type of thing. So I start going and driving and pulling up this alley, and I don't know, I was going 5-10 miles an hour, pretty slow. I can't even tell you in the moment what I was looking at, because I really don't remember, because again, that was 2.5, 3 years ago. But all of a sudden, out of nowhere, because I seen nobody, no cars, no anything, nothing, and out of nowhere I just hear this loud just boom, and then what sounds like a cat, and I'm I can say this now because it's funny now, everybody's fine. I just want to put that disclaimer out there, everybody's fine, everybody's okay, whatever. But anyway, so I hear this boom, it sounds like a cat, and I'm what the hell just happened? And this person that I was with at the time, when we were going to this job site, he was did you just hit somebody? And I was I don't think so. And so I backed up, and real slow, because I just I knew that I had hit something, but I didn't know what it was, because I felt you could feel it, and then you hear the boom and this cat thing that sounded like a cat. So I was backing up, and all of a sudden I just see this lady just laying here on the ground, and a wheelchair, and I'm what the fuck? So we jump out of the truck and go up there, and she's like screaming, I can't feel my legs, like all this other shit. And I'm like, fuck. Well, people that were like driving by had like stopped, and like they had already called 911, all this shit. So like the cops, the ambulance, all this was on their way. And her boyfriend, or whatever you want to call it, whatever they were, I don't know, he came up and he was screaming. He said, whoever did this, like, stay away from her, like, you've already done enough, like, all this other shit. And so I just stood back and I was like, okay, like, whatever, you know, like, I'm not trying to, like, get in a fight here, like, whatever. So before the cops had, like, even got there or anything, because it literally, the fire station was like a block away, and the police station was like 2 blocks away, because this was downtown where I live, and it literally took them like 15 minutes to get there. Why, I don't know, but it did. But anyway, so she's still laying there, and it's like not warm outside, but it's so it's like chilly. So people are like getting her blankets and like all this shit, and she just keeps saying like, I can't feel my legs, and I can't feel my legs, I can't feel my legs. And like, fuck, right? Because I didn't know what was wrong with her and why she was in this wheelchair. I didn't, like, none of this. Like, I don't even know this lady, because like I said, she was homeless. Like, I've seen her like pass by the shop a couple times, like going to like the little food bank thing that was like a few blocks away, because yeah, so like that's all I knew. Like, that I did not know. I knew she was homeless because I had seen her, and I knew that much, but that's all I knew. And I get on the phone with my dad, and at that time, like like they were like, I was on their insurance, it was all like the truck was in their name, like all this stuff. So I get on the phone. This is the conversation to my dad. I said, he answers, and I'm like, hello, and he's like, I can barely hear you, all I hear is sirens. And I was like, yep. And he's like, are you okay? And I was like, yep, but I just want to tell you that insurance is probably going to take a huge jump. And he was like, what happened? And I was like, well, I ran over a homeless lady. And he said, what? And at this time the cops and stuff pulled up, and I was like, I'm gonna have to call you back. And he was like, where are you? And I was like, I'm blah blah blah. And he was like, okay. And so I hang up with him. I go, and the cop is like talking to me, took pictures of the truck, the wheelchair, all this shit. Finally the paramedics show up, and they're like, it's funny because the one, she was like what's hurting ya, like all this stuff. And meanwhile I'm talking to the cop at this point, like explaining like what happened, my side, all this shit. He's taken like my license and all that stuff. And so he gets done with that. He's like, okay. And so I walk back over like by where they're at, and the paramedic's asking her, she's like what's like going on, like what's like, does your head hurt, did you hit your head, all this stuff. And she's like, I just can't feel my legs, I can't feel my legs. And she's like screaming and being like super dramatic, like you can tell she's being super dramatic. And the paramedic, with the straightest fucking face, which this part made me feel so much better, but like with the straightest fucking face, looks at her and says, you could not feel your legs before this accident, you are paralyzed in your legs. And she was like, well, I just can't feel my legs, like she was the one that paralyzed me by hitting me. And she's like, no, like you cannot feel your legs, you are like, this has already been a thing, like does anything else, like what hurts? And she started being all dramatic. She's like, I just need to go to the hospital because I can't feel my legs and you're not doing anything for me. And so they put her on the gurney, put her in the ambulance, and the paramedic looks at me and she's like, she does this all the time. Like this isn't like the first time that she is like wheeled out in front of somebody, got hit, saying these things just to get like insurance money. Okay, that's great. Good to know. Well, unfortunately for her, my truck sits tall enough that when I hit her wheelchair, it like broke it. So, and it was an electric wheelchair. And so she ended up not being able to have her electric wheelchair after that because it was broke. So she ended up with a manual wheelchair. But anyway, back to where I was. So she went to the hospital, got to the hospital. I was like talking to my dad, and my dad was like, I don't know if we should like call and like start like an insurance like claim, like all this stuff from our insurance, like because we know like she probably doesn't have insurance, like all this. And I was like, yeah. And so he gets a hold of the insurance company, and I'm talking to him, I'm explaining what happened, and the dude that I talked to, he was just like so in shock. He said, I have never in my 30 years of being an insurance agent, I have never ever heard of anything like this. And I was like, oh, okay, like that's great. Because mind you, like I was like, what, 3 years ago, I would have been like 20. I was around, well, it was like 2021 at the time, somewhere in there. And so that happened. And anyway, I was like, well, all right, all this stuff. He was like, well, we'll call her, we'll try to get a hold of her. I was like, I don't have a phone number for her, any of that. I was like, I got a case number, because the cop gave me a case number, and I didn't even have to like fill out a report. Like I just verbally gave a report. I didn't actually have to like write down or anything like that, just verbally gave a statement. And anyway, the cop gave me a case number, and I gave that to the insurance guy, and he looked into it, whatever. But a little note to self, like I don't know, so I don't even know like how they got a hold of her or anything like that. But I'm pretty sure the only thing that like ended up being taken, like everything got taken care of, and her medical bills got paid for, and she got a wheelchair. It was a manual wheelchair, but she got a wheelchair. I'm not even kidding you though, to this day, that if I drive downtown and she's down there, she sees my truck, because I still have the truck that this happened in. She'll see it, and she just like glares at me. She starts throwing out slang words, I mean cussing me under the sun, like you name it, she does. And I'm just like, damn, like I really fucked this girl's world up, because she didn't get what she wanted out of it. But yeah, but the reason, so it's a really rough situation. It's a tough situation, because they said it was my fault, but then at one point they said it wasn't my fault, because she didn't have any flags on her wheelchair. So like, and my truck, like I said, sits a little higher than like most trucks. And the way that the like alley is, it kind of like goes up a little bit, and the sidewalk's just like flat. And so like, you get to a point that it was like a blind spot. And so at one point it was like not gonna be my fault, but then it ended up being my fault. I don't know. All I know is it all got taken care of, and she's still mad and in a manual wheelchair now. She couldn't walk before the accident. She sure as hell still can't walk now, which I feel so bad for saying that, but I'm only laughing because she does this all the time, and I just wonder how many other culprits this has happened to. I wish I had her name, because I'd look it up, but I don't have her name. Guess I could ask her, but I'd probably get jumped if I stopped and asked what her name was. She'd probably just go crazy, but she'd probably run me over with her wheelchair at that point, since I ran her over with my truck, which, you know, may be only fair. That may be only fair, but yeah, so that's that story on how I ran over a handicapped homeless person and that's how it turned out. But I hope you guys enjoyed this little short story time video. I hope you guys kind of find the little humor in it as much as I did, or not, really whatever. But I mean, I find it humorous. Everybody that knows it and knows her finds it humorous. Just because everybody's okay. If she wouldn't have been okay, it would have been a different like thing. But she's okay. She's perfectly fine. Well, she's not any more messed up or whatever you want to say than before. So yeah, so that's the story on how I ran over a handicapped homeless person. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, but please make sure to like, subscribe, comment on this video, and maybe I'll start doing shout outs. So yeah, but I will just see you guys in the next one. Peace.